Hey, it's Coach MK. I'm going to be doing my Ask Away segment in about 20 minutes, but I just got gigantic news and had to call everybody I knew and everybody I've been protesting with and running circles all over town, only to come home to my husband, who is wonderful, by the way. And I really want to make this clear. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met, definitely smarter than me, definitely keeps up with current events way more than I do. I'm a very much a single issue voter, and I don't talk about that issue very much because it's complicated enough. Most people do not keep up with it either. So when I said to him, yay, abolition's happening, I got a blank stare. And he said, I don't understand. I haven't seen the news today. I'm like, today? What do you think I've been doing all week long? And he's like, protesting? And I'm like, so I guess I tell you that to tell you this. Marry a man who, when you say, honey, go to the ATM, me and my friend's going to need bail money tonight, he doesn't ask you why. He just goes. So thank you, Alex Fleming, for being the man of pretty much everyone's dreams. So to explain a little bit about what's happening right now, if you've never heard the word abolition, and by the way, I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican. Both parties lost my interest a long time ago. I'm very much an abolitionist. And this arose out of 9/11. The Patriot Act was passed. And what that meant for me as an American living abroad who had no credit card, no credit history, because I didn't have the kind of parents who were like, we need to start establishing credit so you can become a very responsible adult before you actually reach adulthood. A lot of my classmates had that. We did not in my household, which is, again, my parents aren't dumb. There's a game and a system, and we did not know how to play it. There are a whole lot of people in this country who do not know how to play this system, and then you're perpetually playing catch up later in life. Okay, so that is part of the system, the many-headed hydra that when we talk about abolition and defunding and deconstructing, that is precisely what we're talking about. All the little hidden things that you have to know in order to get ahead. And if you have not gotten there by a certain point, you are and will continue to remain behind. Okay, so the big news that came out, we're going to break this down. We're going to talk about it in a very short, digestible way. And then I'm a member of the Junior League of Denver. And one of the most popular things that we have done in the past 2 years has been called Done in a Minute. It's where you can show up to like a meeting and do a whole day's worth of service by committing one big act. That's actually a pretty small thing if everyone does it. And you get a room of 200, 300 people to do it. It's actually that little thing becomes a really big act all at once. So we're going to try that out. I'm going to talk about what's going on, and then I'm going to give you a done in a minute if there's something you want to do to get involved, because the thing that I'm seeing is wonderful. White people love education. We thrive on it. We talk about it. So everyone wants to know what's going on. I'm going to buy a book, and then I'm going to buy this book, and I'm going to go through this reading list, and I'm going to join a book club. Never mind that I've got a full-time job and I'm teaching homeschool right now. Okay. I'm afraid that it could take a while for you to get to the chapter on abolition. So we're going to talk about that right now so you understand what's happening today. So what just happened? I'm going to move over here to the comments. If you want to click this link and give it a looky-loo, Minneapolis is about to announce that they are disbanding their police department. Now, before you freak out, oh my God, there's no more police. What do I do? Think about the last time you had to call them. This is if you are really scared that there won't be police there. Odds are pretty good you've not had to use them lately, or you've not been caught on the wrong end of the system. We are not at all, and the movement never has even briefly suggested that we don't need anything to deter violent crime. We are not suggesting anarchy, much less a country that looks kind of like the Purge, even though for a whole lot of us, the country feels like the Purge a lot of the time. It felt a whole lot like Purge night the first 7 or 8 days of these protests. So I've only been focusing on this since I was American living abroad with no credit history. Once the Patriot Act was passed and they had a profile for a terrorist, on paper, I looked like one. And every time I bought a ticket, this face would be flagged for special searches because I was an American, not living at home with no credit history or records of being at home beyond a college degree. So in their little short list, the brain trust using your tax dollars decided that this person was a threat. And it was a real pain in the booty. Because like, how did that happen? Is this how the system is supposed to work? It's actually exactly precisely how the system is designed to work. But we'll get to that in a minute. So what just happened is we're defunding the police department. Now, there are people who've been doing this work for a whole lot longer. I'm going to read a thread, and I'm going to share the thread right here too, because this woman, her name is Bridget Eileen. She's the traveling nun. She says it better than I ever could. And I'm not going to read the whole thread to you, but I'm going to read part of it to you. So I tell you all that to tell you this: if you don't know what's happening right now, if you've never heard these words before, the only reason I'm aware of them was because the Patriot Act got me in a really big way and got me angry and fired up about civil liberties. And then when all the riots started happening around 2012, I was like, whoa, these civil liberties extend a lot further than I ever understood. This went from policing against terrorism to a much increased militarization of our police force that I have not had to see or experience because I was living abroad and might have been able to ignore had I been here because I am white and privileged. So here's what Bridget Eileen in this thread has to say. Do you or somebody you know think that hashtag abolish the police is unrealistic? It might be because you haven't taken the time to understand what it means, the reasons for it, and why it actually makes a lot of sense. Abolishing the police is not about establishing some kind of free-for-all anarchy where everybody polices themselves and you just hope that no one decides to police themselves into robbing or killing you. It's about the end of policing as we know it. It's about recognizing the role that policing plays in our society is not a role that it should ever been given or that we should allow it to continue to have. It's about recognizing that we have taken almost every single one of our country's most pressing social issues and handed them over to the police to fix with guns and handcuffs and charges and prison. Mentally ill person scaring you a little bit, have them arrested. Homeless person at the end of the drive, have them arrested. Something going on that you quite don't know how to handle, a kid being unruly in school, have them arrested. So there are police everywhere. And the problem with that is that these shows of force that are intended to act as a deterrent have the opposite effect. Whether you are a person living in a foreign country, all of a sudden finding yourself bombed by the United States, you're not going to be real happy with the United States. And if you think it might be due to your religion, that could cause something called radicalization, where you decide the only way forward, since no one's listening to you and you don't have a voice, is to match violence with violence. And that type of radicalization can happen anywhere, including in Denver, Colorado, when a 42-year-old woman decides to go for a jog and gets tear gassed halfway through. Yep, it can happen anywhere. And this is why these shows of force don't actually deter and are ineffective. And it's just wrong that this is what we have tasked our police force with doing. So rather than continually asking them to do this work and punishing them for it, what we're suggesting is a different way of looking at the same problem. Instead of handing everything over to the police to solve with cops and handcuffs and guns, i.e. the prison pipeline, we're looking at a different way of getting things done. So our public education system is failing. So instead of funding things better, paying teachers more, we are sending police to patrol the public schools and funnel kids into prison. Abolishing the police is about recognizing that if we took away every single public issue that they should never have been given to fix in the first place, the police would literally have nothing to do because we've turned them into social workers with guns that are actually providing a public service and a public good. It's about recognizing that we don't know what a healthy police force looks like because we cannot imagine a world where we actually take care of our social ills instead of policing them. It's about recognizing that policing in this country must end because it's wrong and unjust and untenable in a free society. It's about this country needs to stop hiding behind the police and finally take action to fix our social ills and help each other. It's not about some unrealistic utopia where everyone just magically gets along. A just and free society will still have people who break the law, who kill, and who steal. But police in that society will be so different from everything that we assume needs to be true about police today that we might not even recognize them as police at all because our concept of what policing is so twisted, wrong, and messed up. There you go. It's not, and finally, abolishing the police is not about hating cops. I want you to hear this. If you're nothing else, hear this. Any police officer who has taken time to honestly and critically reflect upon his own frustrations with his own job knows that this country expects police to be social workers with guns, and that is wrong. You don't have to agree with the idea of abolish the police, but at least give it enough respect to understand what it means. And that's what it means. And it's good to understand what it means because if it's happening in Minnesota and the defunding is starting in New York, Bill de Blasio, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of faith in him, to be honest, but I didn't elect him and I don't have to deal with him. So what do I know? If it's happening there, and this is what we've all been asking for, this is going to continue to take root. And if the energy based off what I'm seeing in Denver changes based on this announcement. I was going to take the night off, but now I can't wait to get to the protest, y'all. It's going to be a good night. And I'm not worried about it turning violent for once, which is fantastic. This is amazing news. It's really good news. And if you're going to read a bunch of books, awesome. That's not bad at all, but it could take a while. These are really complicated, long, deeply rooted ideas. So I just explained what abolition is. It's about defunding and dismantling a system that really doesn't work for us. It's not just like, yes, we benefit from it in some ways, but man, this could all be so much better if we just got rid of these shows of force and actually fix the social ills and address them. So here's the done in a minute. The done in a minute, if you wanted to do something right now, would be, if you live in the state of Colorado, is to call Governor Polis and tell him that you support Colorado SB 2217, or just SB 217. He is expected to make an announcement on it today, and I sincerely hope it will be influenced by what just happened in Minneapolis and what de Blasio is promising to do in New York to cover his rear end based off of what just happened in Minneapolis. Here's the kicker, though. When you call Governor Polis, and I'm going to leave you a script written by the Colorado Freedom Fund and Elizabeth Epps. If you don't follow them, you need to donate to the Colorado Freedom Fund. Man, guys, it was like $16,000 a couple days ago. It is at $1 million now. This is going one way. And I could not be more excited. Get excited too. When you call Governor Polis and you tell him that you support SB 2217, which is about excessive use of force, tell him that it is imperative that he not tamper with the section on qualified immunity. That needs to be gone. Right now, qualified immunity is a legal statute that says that any public servant is not liable for their actions when on duty, as long as they are not totally corrupt or completely incompetent, which is a really hard standard to prove in court. It effectively leaves cops untouchable, which is why it's so difficult to prosecute them, even when we have video of something egregiously stupid, totally obviously murder, and didn't need to happen in the first place. It is still really hard to come after them. Getting rid of qualified immunity will go a long way towards making this right. So we want call Governor Polis, if you live in the state of Colorado, tell him that you unequivocally support SB 2217 and that it is imperative that he leave in the statute about qualified immunity. Now, okay, I'm going to do that in a few minutes. Coach MK, give me the number. Now, what do I do? If you're watching this, go Google the word abolition. Google abolitionist. Once upon a time, if you've heard that word, it has to do with abolishing slavery. What we're trying to do is dismantle the system that stems from slavery that has effectively created a modern day slavery, especially if you've ever heard about the private prisons. We didn't completely eliminate those last year. That was part of a big campaign last year. Colorado ended a lot of its contracts with private prisons, which don't even get me started on that. That's a totally different subject. This is how wild it's going to be when you start reading those books and doing the work. But what you can do right now is take a little bit of action. I'm going to go here. Sorry, I meant to put this www.issue. Going to go to issuevoter.org, and you're going to put it, that's going to show you where bills like this are available in your area. And this is where you can take action. Don't just write, call, and don't stop calling until the excessive use of force and quality immunity statutes that are up in your area have been passed, if you care about this at all. And you should, like I said, it affects you. We don't need to totally fire all the police. They're not evil. They've been tasked with the job that they don't need to be doing. We can do this better. We can do right by teachers. We can do right by police. We can have a much better structure that actually supports and fosters good things in our society while eliminating the bad things that can come your way. Not every problem needs to be solved with guns and handcuffs. And if it could be, then God, I would not have wanted 4 kids in the first place, because there's a whole lot of problems. I say that not to be Pollyanna. I think y'all know that I'm not. What I am is a person who thinks critically and analytically about the world around me and keeps my mouth shut when I have nothing to say. I've had so much to say about this, I haven't known where to start. And frankly, nobody was ready for the conversation. The time is now. Good things are happening. It's super exciting. I don't want to say get on the right side of history, but boy, this is about to sweep you up and take it away. If you don't know what abolition is, it is starting. Yay! That's what happened today. That's what just happened. You've got your done in a minute. Support SB 2217, and let's go celebrate. Get on issuevoter.org and see what is happening and what is starting locally for you. Because this is not, if you have come at me and said, well, what about the presidential election? I'm going to get in your face and be like, well, who is your DA? Who's your county clerk? What's your police budget? If this is all hyper local, everyone's been so focused, and this was intentional, on wedge issues in election years that we have forgotten our civic duty and to act locally, and that will impact you and matter more than anything ever would. So lucky for us, grassroots organizers have been doing this work for a really long time and can tell you exactly where to go once you decide to start caring about things locally. A great place to start: look at anyone who is backing your local bailout fund or your local freedom fund. Here it's called the Colorado Freedom Fund. It's nationalbailout.org. Go there, find your local chapter. The people who are leading that are the ones you want to follow. You are coached. You are loved. You are going to be done in a minute when you call Governor Polis and tell him that you support Colorado 2217. And it is imperative that he leave in the statute about qualified immunity. Once you've done that, we will all be winning at life. See you and Ask the Coach.